Welcome to the December 30th, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com Daily Podcast, where we cover the biggest stories in Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency every single day, and do a deep dive, in-depth market analysis where we really look at the mechanisms and stories driving the market. This is your host, Space Marine, live from space. Currently, Bitcoin's price is sitting at $37.40, and this is actually recorded in the very early morning of the 31st, New Year's Eve, but I'll be doing the 31st show after the stock market data is in for the day, because there's been a growing relation between the stock market and the Bitcoin market, because for the first time in Bitcoin's existence, the stock market has been going down. It went up a lot, actually, the past couple days of trading before the weekend, and they call it the Plunge Protection Team. The president, or one of the president's people, called the Plunge Protection Team, and it's not an official team, it's a group of banks and stuff, and they work together to pump the market up in times of distress. So actually, you see some of the biggest rallies during stock bear markets during the bear market, then versus like an up market. During an up market, you get consistent gains of like on the Dow Jones, maybe like 200, 300, 400 points a day during like the bull market. But during the bear market, you might see the stock market go up 500 points, 1,000 points in one day, and then crash the next day. You see the biggest rises in the stock market when the market's actually going down, and it's because the volatility goes to an extreme, and it's also because of this Plunge Protection Team. I saw specifically on Zero Hedge, which is a good website for stocks. We don't really cover stocks on Bitcoin News, but now it's becoming more relevant. But anyways, Wells Fargo moved $64 billion of pension funds, which is kind of like a retirement thing. They moved $64 billion of pension funds into stocks. That means they bought $64 billion of stocks. That's like the entire Bitcoin market cap being pushed into stocks all at once. And that caused a couple up days where we saw 1,000-point rallies on the stock market. But the last day of trading, it went down 500 points in the last few minutes of trading. So today's day of trading, New Year's Eve, is we're going to do the show after that to see how everything is going for the 31st. And it could be a very interesting day. Like, it'll be the last day of trading for 2018. 2019 is coming. How exciting is that? New Year's is here, pretty much. In fact, it's already New Year's in New Zealand right now. That's about it. New Zealand and some little islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean east of that. Alright, so back to Bitcoin. What's been going on in the past few days on Bitcoin? Well, over the course of the 30th, before the 30th started, there was a nice, big, unfortunate red candle from almost $4,000. It plunged to $3,700. And then throughout the day on the 30th, well, through the early morning at least, it was rising a bit, slowly to $3,750. And then boom, green candle, $3,850. And then it's been going down. There's been a couple of plunges. There's been red candles down to $3,740 and then down to $3,700. And now it's restabilized at $3,740. But it seems like there's some massive selling pressure. Not massive, but significant sells going on throughout the day. Bitcoin never takes a day off. So the stock markets have been closed since like Saturday, Sunday. Now it's Monday, but Bitcoin never closes. There's been plenty of volatility and movements over the weekend. And that's one cool thing about Bitcoin. It's like 24/7 trading. That's good. It's kind of fun that way. So the big thing going on in the Bitcoin market in the past several days is on the 28th, the contracts for December for the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which runs through Globex, they expired. And when the contracts expired, I proposed, and I wrote, I did a big research on this, and there's definitely market movements right when these futures expire, and it's called banging the close. Basically, if people are short selling for the month, and they were short selling in December, they try to make it go lower right as the contract expires, and sure it did. So on December 27th, Bitcoin's price crashed from $37.50 down to $35.60. And then it stayed there right as the contracts expired, and then once the contracts were done expiring, it went from $600 all the way up to like almost $4,000. It did go up to $4,000 almost. Alright, so basically the contracts expired, and we saw a nice big short sell bang in the close. And now the market has been released, and the thing to look for, is it going to go up the next week, or is it going to go down? I'm getting a little concerned. I thought this would definitely be an up month because the stocks are crashing, and basically what happens with the stocks, and I didn't finish that point, I guess, when the stock market is declining, and this is the first time it's really been declining since Bitcoin launched in 2009. Since 2009, the stock market was going up and up and up consistently. Now it's going down. It went down 4,000 points total so far. And it probably will go down a lot more. The stock market has a lot of momentum. Like, if it starts going down a lot, there's a lot of feedback effects of businesses collapsing that causes it to go down more. So, Bitcoin's basically a safe haven from the stock market because Bitcoin is independent of the stock market. It's an asset. It's easy to buy and sell. It's an investment. People use it as an investment. Even though I think Bitcoin's better as a decentralized peer-to-peer electronic money, like it says in the Bitcoin white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto. Oh yeah, by the way, it's almost 10 years exactly since Bitcoin launched. So it was launched in 2009, like January, and here we are, 10 years later. Bitcoin's a big thing now, only 10 years later. It's kind of amazing. It's a miracle. But anyway, so Bitcoin's a safe haven from the stock market, but there's been no need for it to be a safe haven. The stock market's been going up, and now finally we're seeing a need for it to be a safe haven. So that's going to apply upward pressure on Bitcoin's price no matter what. Even the stock market has this plunge protection team stuff going on where it's going up like 1,000 points randomly and no one knows why. People are still scared. The volatility scares people. Even if it goes up a lot during a bear market, everyone's like, okay, what the heck is going on? Like, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't seem like a safe asset. And that's the same thing that actually happened to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's so volatile, it still is, that people don't want to really invest in it. But here's the thing. If a small fraction of people in the stock market, like 0.1%, decide, okay, I'm taking my money from the stock market and putting it into Bitcoin, that will cause a massive Bitcoin rally. And we're seeing maybe the beginnings of that pressure upwards. But then there's also the effect of the futures on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange with Globex. And by the way, these futures are the same thing the gold market's been dealing with. So the gold market has not risen much at all in years and years and years because Globex futures on COMEX, very similar to the Bitcoin futures on CME. The gold futures have been suppressing gold's price by printing paper gold. Likewise, the Bitcoin futures are suppressing Bitcoin's price by printing paper Bitcoin and having massive short selling pressure. So I'm a little concerned though, because the futures expired on the 28th. We saw a green candle right after that. And the first week after the futures expires kind of determines, did the futures traders take up a long position, which means they expect it to go up and they'll bet on that? Or are they betting on it going down? Well, I'm seeing like red candle, and red candle since the 28th. And that's not a good sign. Like if it goes down even a little bit over the next week, that could be a sign they've taken up short positions. And then they're going to throw all their ammunition on making Bitcoin go down. And it won't be easy to make Bitcoin go down if the stocks are crashing, but there has not been a month where they've decided, hey, it's going to go short and then it goes long. They pretty much control the market. It sucks to say that, but it's true. They have enough ammunition and power through Globex to like control any underlying asset. The gold market's $10 trillion. Bitcoin is much, much smaller. Like I'll pull up the Bitcoin market cap right now, and it's only $66 billion. Literally, Wells Fargo bought $64 billion of stocks during a trading day last week, just to put that in perspective. Like, $66 billion is the market cap of all the Bitcoin in existence. The total crypto market cap is $127 billion. That's easy to manipulate. The gold market is being manipulated for years. That's well known, and it's like $10 trillion. We're talking $66 billion here. It should not have Globex futures. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission should not have approved Globex futures. That's like quite obvious. The manipulation that has resulted from the CME Globex futures has really hurt all the Bitcoin investors, all the crypto investors. It's ruined a lot of blockchain and crypto companies. It should be repealed, but I don't think there's a process to repeal futures once they're in existence because it's so lucrative. Like, there's so many people making money on shorting Bitcoin, they just don't want to get rid of it. So, okay, to sum everything up, the stocks are having a very volatile time. I think it's probably likely they're going to go down over the next month or two or maybe longer. We could see a real stock recession. It could at least be a like a short recession. And short recessions in the stock market, because of its momentum, it lasts a while. And that will apply upward pressure on Bitcoin's price. But at the same time, if the CME traders decide it's going short this month, it will go short this month. So if we see another couple of days with red candles appearing out of nowhere, that's probably them launching their ammunition to make it go short, because they probably took up their short positions on, well, they let it go up for like a day after the futures expired on the 28th, 29th, and maybe they took out their short positions there. This is possible. And now it's lower than that. It was at 3,900, and now it's at like 3,740. That's already short profit if it expired right now. But of course, it's going to expire towards the end of January 2019. We're into the January contract now. That's the primary contract. Of course, there's many contracts going on at any single time. There's February's active, March is active, maybe even April's active. But they all move into the monthly contract because what they make money on is manipulating the price for the current monthly contract. So here on the BitcoinNews.com daily podcast with Space Marine, me, we're going to keep you updated on this. So I think this is a good method, even though it's really awful that, the market's totally being manipulated. And by the way, the day the futures launched was December 17th, 2017. That was the day the market started crashing from 20,000. So, this is quite an obvious effect. It sucks. It's hurting Bitcoin's price and hurting the market. But it makes Bitcoin's price easy to predict. Like, I predicted well before the 28th that it would crash right before the 28th, and it did. Just to prove that. I didn't have any skill in forecasting Bitcoin's price before I understood the CME futures, so I'm going to keep using it. And I think it's a real skillful way to forecast Bitcoin's price. What about the rest of the crypto market? Well, Ripple's at like $14.5 billion market cap. Once again, a very centralized cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's decentralized. Each Bitcoin that was mined was earned. Each Bitcoin that exists was mined and earned. And Ripple was like, they printed it all at once, kind of like an ERC20 token. They printed them all at once, gave them to themselves, and then they started selling it. And they still hold 59 billion XRP. Ripple's down a little bit today, so Bitcoin's down 2.5% today, and because of those red candles, and then Ripple's down 3.5%. Ethereum's at $136, not too shabby. So Ethereum's actually been doing a little better than Bitcoin the past few days, and that Constantinople hard fork is coming up. And here's what's going to happen with Ethereum. If this is an up month from the stocks crashing, like if the stocks crash enough and Bitcoin goes up, and then the CME traders are like, okay, we're not going short, we're going long, then Ethereum will do fine, even though they're having the Constantinople hard fork coming up in the middle of the month in January 2019. This fork is going to reduce mining rewards from 3 Ether to 2 Ether. They're adding a bunch of things to the Ethereum platform to help the development of D-apps. But yeah, that fork, it's going to be very contentious because it's kind of like the developers and the investors versus the miners. And these are two very strongly worded, oriented camps. They're against each other at this point. The miners are like, come on, like, don't cut our block rewards. Like, we need it. Like, we lost so much money already. Because Ethereum was at $1,400 earlier in 2018. Now it's at $136. They need every little scrap of their block reward because most of the miners already went out of business. They're dumping their rigs for scrap. The ones that remain are really loyal. And they're like, okay, what are you doing? You're repaying our loyalty with, like, cutting the block reward? So it might cause a bit of a war. It could be anywhere from, like, tension when the fork happens to, like, a blockchain split where we get another version of Ethereum. Either way, Ethereum's price will probably go up before the fork because that's what happens. Even with Bitcoin Cash, when it was very obvious it was going to be a total mess, Bitcoin Cash went up over $600 before the fork in the middle of November, and then it crashed a lot. So I think Ethereum's price will go up towards the fork because people are going to be like hyping it up. The investors want it. So people speculating and investing will be like, okay, this is good. We're going to invest in this. And then when the contention and the war happens, there'll be a little something at least. There probably will be a crash. But here's what the macro effect will be. So if, like, the Bitcoin's going up because the stock market is crashing and the CME traders give up on the short for the month and they're just like, okay, we have to go to long. We're going to lose a ton of money. So if that's the case, and Bitcoin's going up, the crypto market's going up, Ethereum will survive no problem. They'll survive this fork. But if this plan to short the market, and it's starting to look like a short to me, just looking at this chart for Bitcoin, if the plan for shorting the market works, well, and Ethereum's having this fork, it could be catastrophic. Because Ethereum actually has derivatives on BitMEX, and they're trying to launch Ethereum CME Globex futures too, and I don't think that's going to get approved. They have like a $14 billion market cap. That's way, way obviously too small. It'll be so easy to manipulate. The whole Ethereum market will just be a manipulation from CME, so I don't think they're going to do that. But anyways, BitMEX already has it, and when they smell blood in the water, like if Ethereum's having a fight and the market's not good anyways, BitMEX could short sell and 100x leverage Ethereum in a short sell and really crash the market. That's what happened. When Ethereum got added to BitMEX, the downward fall of Ethereum's price accelerated bad. It was like at $300 or $400. And then Arthur Hayes, the CEO of BitMEX, said Ethereum's going to be a double-digit shitcoin. And then it was. So, like, these derivatives traders, like, and futures are, by the way, derivatives. So derivatives traders know how to manipulate the market. And when Arthur Hayes, the CEO of the biggest Bitcoin and crypto derivatives exchange in the world by volume, not the most powerful, CME is the most powerful, but BitMEX is the biggest by volume, billions of dollars per day of volume. When the CEO of that company says it's going to be a double-digit shitcoin, it will be. They can decide where the price will be. That's how derivatives work, pretty much. They have a lot of influence and power. Alright, so Ethereum is at 136 now, though. It's alive. Good news. Alright, Bitcoin Cash at 158. It's better than it was. I think it went all the way up to 200 recently, so it's been falling off. It's down 3.5% today. Bitcoin Cash had that pretty bad war, and where Bitcoin SV was born. Bitcoin SV is down 4% today. And look, here's the thing with Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV. Alright, so Bitcoin has 1 megabyte block sizes. It's actually like 1.2 megabytes after the implementation of SegWit. Pretty often the blocks are filled, and that's why Bitcoin Cash was like, okay, we got to increase the block sizes to keep transaction fees low. So Bitcoin Cash originally increased the block size to 8 megabytes and then 32 megabytes. Here's the thing with Bitcoin Cash, though. The truth. They only have like 100 kilobyte or less. Less than 100 kilobyte block sizes on average. And therefore, basically, they don't need to increase the block size. Like, they could have a 1 megabyte block size and Bitcoin Cash would work perfectly the same. So the whole point of making Bitcoin Cash was pointless, because not enough people are using it to warrant increased block sizes at all. And then Bitcoin SV went a step further and increased it to 128 megabytes. And that's really, really pointless. Even less people use Bitcoin SV. So that's the simple truth. Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV are not really needed, but they're being used as speculative assets. So that's why we often see Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV rise with the market and fall with the market. And they're starting to stabilize in that respect. Like, they're not really rising much or falling much relative to the rest of the market. They're just kind of moving with it, like everything else. All right, Tether's still at $1.02. It's been like that for like a week, and it's not stable, but that's not much news. The other stable coins are not a dollar either. USD coin $1.01, True USD $1.01, Paxos Standard $1.01. They have a hard time staying at $1, and that's not really good for their use. They're supposed to be exactly at $1, and they're supposed to be a mechanism to send fiat with arbitrage. I'm sure they're $1 in some places, though. That's like the global average. I'm sure some places are $1, some places are 99 cents, some places are $1.05, you know. That's like the mix. The $1.02 for Tether is like the total global average. Litecoin is at $31, $1.8 billion market cap. Litecoin is going to be around long term. It's like the script version of Bitcoin, and that's good for script miners, which, you know, that's a different mining algorithm. It used to be better for GPUs, but now it's just like ASICs, just like SHA-256. IOTA, the number one directed acyclic graph coins, near $1 billion market cap. If the market falls at all, it's not going to reach it, but if it rises, it'll go right over $1 billion market cap. It's been hovering around there for a while. DAG, directed acyclic graph, is good for storing data. It's good for scientists, good for the Internet of Things. Monero, the number one privacy coin, basically it builds in the privacy features. Like, Bitcoin could be very private if you use Tor and VPN and change your address every time, and people do. Bitcoin's used as a privacy coin. But Monero has it all built in, and basically some people thought it was going to rally a lot because there's need for privacy coins, but I don't think the need for privacy coins is like that great. But Monero will move with the rest of the market, so if Bitcoin ever rallies a lot again to like 20,000, probably will at some point, like a year or 2 or 3 from now. Maybe sooner, I don't know. I'm just saying it will get to 20,000 at some point, and then Monero is going to go up a lot too, be worth hundreds of dollars. Right now it's $48. Dash is at $81. It's like in between Monero and Bitcoin as far as privacy goes. It's a masternode coin, which means the coins are sent through a mixer. And it's very hard to trace Dash transactions. It's becoming very popular in Venezuela. It used to be called Darkcoin, by the way. And we're going to wrap up the market analysis today with Dogecoin. Dogecoin is at $276 million market cap. It's worth like 1/5 of a cent. It's been like that for a long time. It's down slightly today. It was over $300 million market cap during the peak of the rally. The little rally that happened recently. This is like a mini rally. Alright, so that's all we have for you today on this December 30th, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com Daily Podcast. Come back for the December 31st edition, where we analyze what happened to the stock market, and we'll see how crypto prices move. I think when the stock market opens today, in a couple hours from now, we will see some movement in the market, depending on which way the stock market goes. If it's a big crash today, Bitcoin probably will go up. And then that'll be really important for determining, will this be a short month or a long month? Will Bitcoin go down or will it go up? So yeah, come back tomorrow, and this is your host, Space Marine, signing out. Don't forget to go to BitcoinNews.com 24/7 for the full spectrum of Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto analysis.